guys, this is Substitute Topher. Today we are out at M1 Concourse in Pontiac, Michigan, driving the 2023 Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. Pretty familiar with this track. We were just out here in the new BMW M2. And now we're getting a chance to do it in a hot Alfa. Under the hood of this thing, 2.9 liter Ferrari derived V6, 505 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque. In the middle of all that, 8-speed automatic, and of course this thing is rear wheel drive. First lap out, regaining my bearings. This ZF just absolutely fires off gear changes. I am adjusting my seat back just a little there. This car is so twitchy. We've got unbelievably quick steering on this car, I mean seriously, but the grip from this front end. Pretty safe traction control system there in dynamic mode. We're not going to go into full race today. Don't want to have dynamic stability control turned off, or ESC, whatever. Oh my god, the turn in. This is a slow corner. Stick it in there and power out. Hard on the brakes. Woo-hoo-hoo. This is a quick car. Oh my goodness. That's the thing about these column-mounted paddle shifters, is sometimes you'll go for a gear and the paddle isn't there. Oh, is that it already? All right, cool down lap. We'll let this car breathe for a second. Yeah, this is quite the performance machine. Alfa Romeo's had this car out now for a few years, and they haven't really changed much, but everything to do with the driving dynamics of this car, just fantastic. It's the first time I've had one of these out on track. Temperature gauge reading just a little bit over middle. That is likely normal for if you are running out on track. Just cooling it down. We're going to try and get into the Stelvio later on. Man, what a performance from this Giulia Quadrifoglio. All right, guys, we're getting the chance to go back out for a few more laps here in the Giulia Quadrifoglio. So we'll get you a few more laps and we'll kind of wrap up our thoughts here on this car. I know this has been kind of a brief video here, only about 6 laps in total, but sometimes you just gotta work with what you got. This is what we got today, and nevertheless, this Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio is a ton of fun, and I think it has the quickest steering of like anything that I've ever driven on track. So it's also sprinkling a little bit. Again, we're gonna go into dynamic mode, and maybe we'll mess with our suspension modes a little bit as well. Let's go ahead and select dynamic mode, and that'll actually stiffen up the suspension for us, but let's actually start in soft mode and see how that changes things for us. The first 3 laps we rode in just default dynamic mode, so we'll try soft dampers and see how that feels. Listen to that Stelvio. All right, we're gonna go manual mode for the first lap, and then maybe we'll switch it into automatic and see how we do. So even with stability, still let you get a little bit of slip there, as we saw. And we'll let these tires warm up for a second. Let's stiffen these dampers up. Feel stability control keeping me in line there. Always want to grab third gear around that corner, but the paddle shifters are where you left them. I was gonna say they aren't, but they actually are. Oh, the grip. All right, I'm gonna put us into automatic mode on the transmission. We'll see how that reacts. Pulling downshifts for us there, nice. Over a G. The grip on this Giulia is just unbelievable. Look at the turn-in. Feeling all 505 horsepower. Okay, I want to control my own gears. It does a pretty dang good job, though. Usually, any sort of car that this 8-speed is in, it's usually tuned just about perfectly. I've got to say, for a sedan, this thing is extremely confidence-inspiring. I mean, it's a little bit less twitchy than an M3, and it's so balanced. You just don't really have any sort of body roll, anything like that. Even with it being a bit greasy out here. We're catching Sophie on here in the Stelvio. Ooh. Okay, we are gonna chill out. Did not like the way that those brakes sounded that time around. So we'll use this as our cool down lap. I love the way this car is on the street. Now I can confirm that I love the way it is on a track as well. And we're finishing out our session today in the Stelvio. So we'll compare and contrast some things with the Giulia, but I'm mostly just excited to finally get one of these out on track. I've heard that they are one of the best driving performance SUVs. So we shall see how it is compared to the Giulia. Sitting inside the Stelvio, it's hard to tell the difference. The steering wheel, the dashboard, the shifter, everything in here is pretty much the same as the Giulia, including under the hood, where we have the same turbocharged V6 making 505 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. We have the same 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, but the main difference is that this Stelvio is all-wheel drive and the Giulias are rear-wheel drive. So I'm kind of glad that we're in this because it just started raining. So we'll be able to go within our limits here on the Stelvio. We won't be able to push as hard as we did with the Giulia, but we'll give it our best shot. I'm really curious to see how the steering is in this Stelvio because I've read that it's the same steering rack, which means it's the same steering weight and everything and quickness as the Giulia. But this car is essentially lifted on stilts. It's an SUV. So if it handles the same as the Giulia, that's gonna be insane. So we'll just have to see how this thing is. So let's hit the track, see what it's like. Oh yeah. Take it easy, let some heat get into these tires. Yeah, it is noticeably greasy out here on the track. A little bit of understeer. Oh yeah, this thing is also very twitchy for an SUV. Oh! Yeah, this is quick. Take it easy here around the corner, around the corkscrew thing. Yeah, this is quick, and just as I suspected, the steering is razor sharp. In something this size, it's just hysterical. I mean, honestly, it's very impressive though that they're able to squeeze this much performance out of an SUV. Fantastic response time from this 8-speed automatic, and effortless shifts, very smooth, you can't feel them, but you can hear them, which I love. Edge of our grip there. I find myself overcompensating because you don't expect an SUV to have steering that quick. So you saw around that corner there, little bit of an overcorrection. Yeah, this is mad. Oh. Rotates really nicely. I mean, you can tell they've got this chassis dialed in. And even out here on a greasy, very narrow track, it's a pretty confidence-inspiring drive. And hilariously, I know we said we were going to compare to the Giulia, it feels pretty much the same. Stiffen up our dampers a little bit. Well, cool, we finally got to take a Stelvio Quadrifoglio on track, and I'm glad we got to get into this here at the end of the day. Thanks to Alfa Romeo for having me out. Thanks to M1 Concourse here in Pontiac, Michigan. Yeah, this feels better here with the stiffer dampers too. Or the dampers in stiff mode, I should say. Incredibly impressive SUV out here, even, you know, just driving it at kind of 5 to 6 tenths out here on the track. You can tell that this is a serious performance vehicle, despite the fact that it's an SUV. I love this car. I drove one briefly on the street. It was actually green like that Giulia last year, and it was only for about an hour, but I emerged from it thinking that's one of the best SUVs I've ever driven, and that stays true today here with this track experience in the Stelvio Quadrifoglio. So this will be the actual end of the video. Again, thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you next time, or hopefully we have a little bit more time in some of these cars and we'll be able to get you some more impressions. But it was cool today to drive the Giulia and the Stelvio back-to-back here on the track. Incredibly impressive couple of cars, but I'm even more impressed with the Stelvio and how it's able to hang with the big dogs out there on the track and with the Giulia sedan. So that'll wrap it up. Again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.